I'm live. Oh! So it's literally been 5 minutes since I ended my last stream because my little girl woke up and I had to. Daddy's got to run in there because my wife is sleeping, and if I don't run in there, I'm gonna get a phone call or a text message from my wife asking me what the hell I'm doing. So we were talking about what gamers want, and we had gone over Call of Duty and first-person bullshit, and then we went over like Diablo type games and the shit that's in those, and then we went over Destiny and how it's just like this fucking constant grind. Um, and I was getting to the point that um, gamers don't want to be nickel and dime for content that's like really not content. It's just like a new like feature in an area, but it's like the same maps and shit. We want big fucking expansions, new areas that are as big as the original campaign. We don't want fucking constant pop-ups telling us that we have to buy your shit, especially if we already bought the base game. Then just create a fucking store, put it in the background. I don't need to see that shit the first time I start up the game. And also, I don't need um, like fucking just like all the DLC shit. Just put it in the store and keep it in the background. Unless your game's free. If your game is free, then do what you want. That's the price we're going to pay for your game being free. Then you could fucking flood us with all this shit. But if we're paying for your base game, especially base games that are like fucking $60, $70, I don't want to see any of your pop-ups pitching me new shit or pitching me your new game that's coming out. You know, like, oh, I'm playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, but now I have to have pop-ups for fucking the new Black Ops that's coming out and fucking Modern Warfare 3. I don't want that shit. We don't want that shit. I know other people do not want that shit in there. Okay? And another thing for Call of Duty, I get that your the Warzone part of the game is free, okay? And you don't have to buy Modern Warfare 2 or 3 to have Warzone. You could just have Warzone. Cool. Here's a fucking idea. Make Warzone its own separate thing. We don't want it fucking bundled with the base game. I don't want to have to download a huge fucking update for this shit that I'm never gonna fucking play. Okay? When I launch the game, I want to fucking get in and play the game. I don't want to launch the game and be greeted with, well, now you have to fucking download another 100 gigs of bullshit before you can launch the game. So many fucking times I'm starting these games up when I'm on my lunch break and I'm like, cool, gonna get a few rounds in on my lunch break. Oh, can't get a few rounds in. There's a fucking 100 gig update. And it's not even like the fucking game is now 200 gigs. It's like re-downloading the whole fucking game and then plus the additional little patch that's like maybe 10 gigs at most, but it has to download the 100 gigs plus that. No, either give us this little part or just fucking don't. And don't bundle that shit with Warzone. People don't fucking like it. And I know your corporate overlords are like, we have to fucking do it. We got to fucking maximize profits. Fuck that. Keep it separate. You could still maximize profits. You'll probably make more money that way because you won't be pissing off everyone that's buying your fucking base games. You'll have them buying the base game that they want, and then you'll have the people that are buying shit in Warzone. Okay? And another thing about fucking Call of Duty that pissed me off is this happened with Modern Warfare, the remake, and Modern Warfare 2. And I didn't buy any of the other ones after that because I was fucking pissed off. But what they do is anytime a new game comes out, they fucking hide the game you paid for behind like fucking 10 menus. Like, if I were to open up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 right now, It's not going to show me fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It's going to show me Warzone. It's going to show me Modern Warfare 3. All this shit I don't have access to because I'm not fucking purchasing Modern Warfare 3 or Black Ops. I have to dig through all these fucking menus to find Modern Warfare 2. And then when I get to Modern Warfare 2, I got to fucking dig through more menus to find third person mode, which is, I mean, I did fine with first person mode, but third person I really enjoy because then you can at least see the fucking bullshit skins they're making you fucking buy. And it was the same in Modern Warfare 1. I remember buying that, and then I wanted to fucking play Modern Warfare 1, and it was the same shit. I had to start going through all these fucking menus to get to the fucking single player campaign so I could play it because they fucking buried it behind Warzone bullshit. Okay. Um, yeah. So I think you guys got the gist of that. So I've kind of been telling people, like, what players want, but also what we don't want. But now I'd like to start talking about what I do want, like what I would do if I was in charge of creating a game. Like at least like creating the storyline and like the storyboard and what kind of content we're going to have and what mechanics are going to be in this game. Um, I really enjoy third person shooters, but I don't think they're as popular as first person shooters. If I was creating a game, I'd like to figure out a way to have a toggle in the menu where you can play either in third person or first person, at least for the campaign and single player shit. And if it was multiplayer, then it would be strictly two different modes. First person players cannot play against third person players. And the reason why is because in third person games, there's an advantage over people playing in first person because you have a much larger field of view and you could see over and around cover. So I would create mainly a third person game, but that option for first person would be in there, and you should be able to experience the full game in first person and not have any issues. Um, Ghost Recon, I think it's Breakpoint. I hardly played it. I played it a little bit. From what I played, it didn't really pull me in as much as I wanted it to. I played Tom Clancy's Division 1 and 2 a lot. But Breakpoint has a mod where you can play it in first person, and the game's primarily in third person unless you're like shooting. And I can't remember if there's like a toggle to go into first person or if you need to have a scope. I think there's a toggle and you need a scope. You don't need a scope. There's a toggle. Anyway, someone released a mod, so you can play that whole game in first person. So I know it's possible to make a third person game and also have the ability to have that first person camera in there and have the framework so you can still see your hands and they're not all fucking jumbled up like they are when people make a game that's first person first and then they try to create a third person mod like with Cyberpunk. I know that's a recent one. The third person mod, the modders are trying their hardest, but man, it looks like shit. And that sucks because I want to see my character. If I'm making a fucking character that looks cool as fuck, I want to be able to see them. Not just when I enter the closet or a fucking mirror. Like, I like to watch my character in third person looking cool as fuck, shooting stuff up. And doesn't always have to be a shooter game. Even in games like Skyrim. Skyrim did third person, first person pretty good. I didn't really get into Skyrim or Fallout, but I feel like those games you really need the modders to like not only fix stuff but also put in like interesting and fun stuff in the game that should have already been in the game. But I get, the developers, they're pressed for time and they put in a really good game, right? I mean, it's not like Skyrim's ass, but we want like fucking super textures and the ability to do this and that and all this other stuff. And Skyrim did good with the third person, but it being a first person game first, the third person feels pretty lacking. It doesn't have that feel that a third person game does. And for third person games, I like there to be cover, and I like there to be the ability to shoot around cover, kind of being anchored into that cover. So I'm like fucking rambling on. I don't know if it's my ADHD or what. I still have fucking PoE 2 open and I haven't even touched it. But so long story short, if I could build a game right now, I'd want first person I'd want it to be a third person game with the first person option. Okay? And like I said, for multiplayer, you're either playing in first person or third person. They're not playing with each other. We're going to keep it fair. And if I had to come up with a storyline and a feel for the gameplay, I would have it set up like Tom Clancy's The Division meets Metal Gear Solid. Like I would have a main character similar to Snake, and we'd be dropping you in a huge jungle with a large military base at like let's say at the end of a fucking island. I'm thinking something as big as like DayZ's map, and there's outposts throughout the jungles. There's some roads. The map's fucking huge, so there's going to be a lot of outposts as you go. And I would have like a fucking outer heaven type base that's huge, and I'm talking like as huge as it would be in like a Metal Gear game. I'm not talking Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. That base, those bases were not big enough. I'm talking like something like Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Solid 1, where like the whole fucking campaign is that base. So I would have an island with a base that's the size of a full campaign. Okay, so you're gonna have to sneak through that eventually, but I'd put you on the other side of the island, drop you in, and like Metal Gear, you'd have to get all your shit on site. So you'd have like your basic fatigues when you drop in or scuba dive in off the coast of the island at night. You fucking get in there, you go and hide in the jungle. Eventually, you sneak up, knife a few dudes, steal their fucking fatigues, steal their weapons, and then proceed from there. There'll be other small bases that are pretty big, but not as big as like the full base. I'd say they'd be as big as like the base in Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. These like outposts. Not every outpost has to be that big, but there should at least be like 10 or 15, maybe 20 of them throughout the map. And then once you get to the other side of the island, like you're having to like blow up some walls, sneak under fences, sneak under ducking or drainage pipes to get into this main base and not trigger alarms or lasers or not being seen by drones. And then once you're like in the gated area of the base, then you have to like actually infiltrate the base. And then once you're in the base, which I'm thinking is like probably like 40 to 50 hours into the game, then it's like the beginning of Metal Gear 2, right? Then you really start having to infiltrate this military base. And for that area, I would maybe make it so that it's like I would make it like the ability to be like procedurally generated, like maybe tiles. Um the problem I had with Metal Gear Solid 5 is like there was there was shit that wasn't in the game that should have been in the game that makes a Metal Gear game fun. Like open world was great. Okay, cool. I got an open world, but there was like no fucking drones in the open world. There was hardly any cameras, and it made it too fucking easy. Like you had walker gears occasionally, and you had some bases that you didn't go into, but like it just was missing, like other than an enemy seeing you with his own eyes, you could be like fucking 100 yards away just sniping everybody, and they'd be alerted, but you'd be fine. Like we needed drones and lasers and shit like that. They didn't have that. So my game would have that in all the little bases. There has to be fucking great security, and there would also be a lot more of that when you got to the main base. And in the main base, there would be boss fights. Just like in Metal Gear games, you'd have like, what is it, like 5 or 6 sub bosses, and then the main final boss and his mech to fight. And the little outposts around there would have their own like little bosses as well, just like a named boss, but nothing too special. But the ones in the base would all have like their own uh, niche that's like their thing. Like Vamp in Metal Gear was like a vampire, immortal, and fucking did gymnastics around and threw knives. And you had like the Fear, he could camouflage like the Predator and shit. And you had the Fury, who was like flames. You would have similar shit like that with these main bosses. And you have to have like a legendary hero as the main player. One thing I would do for my game is the player, when you start the game, you create your character. So you don't create your storyline, like as far as your background. I mean, maybe you could pick a little bit of it, like where you're from, maybe your age, and you would be able to design what your character looks like. So, if you're Asian, you don't have to worry about having a white character, or you're black, you don't have to worry about having a white character, and if you're white, you don't have to worry about having a black character. You create your own individual character that looks like you. So that's going to help with the immersion. And as you're going through the game, you'd be able to get to different areas, like there's mountain areas and there's desert areas and there's jungle areas, and while you're in these areas and you're taking out these different bases, you're getting different camos and unlocking finding different weapons and different things you're going to need, and then eventually you're breaking into that final base. That's how I would make my game. And then when it came to multiplayer for that, I really enjoyed the multiplayer in Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid 3. And I think to have good multiplayer, everything has to be really well balanced. And the way to make everything really well balanced is to not give anyone a crazy unfair advantage for either spending more money on content or grinding an insane amount of time to unlock a certain weapon that's just going to mop the floor with everyone. And that was one of the things that I loved about Metal Gear Solid 3's multiplayer. Everyone had the same loadout options. There wasn't any, you could either have like an M4, or you could have an AK-47 or Scorpion or an RPG, but like anyone could have those. And you didn't have to worry about unlocking attachments and like grinding for that. You just had it. So it was even. It was fun. If you were killing other people, you were killing them because you were better, not because you had better gear than they did. So I think for like my multiplayer, that's how I would have to do it. Or at least maybe I have it so like there's like an option, but I don't think so. I think if you have a a setup for multiplayer where people can take advantage of something, they will, and it'll cause other people to have a bad time, and you'll also have people that just turn into assholes. They'll be like a cancer to the game if you get like smug assholes that have weapon setups that are just fucking obliterating people because it gives them some crazy advantage. Like just make it even. So, if someone's killing you, they have the same loadout as you, or you could have the same loadout as them. Is It's pretty much just skill. And that was one thing in Metal Gear Solid 3. Like I played that for a few years, and there was like a trick to getting headshots in that game. And when you got a headshot, it would play like this little ping, and you would know that you hit the headshot. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I got that trick, like where I could hit headshots all the time. But it wasn't an unfair advantage. Like it was a grind. I had to learn how to do it, and it took forever to learn. But it was fun, and I never felt cheated in that game. Well, there were some cheaters. Anyone that's that fucking old to have played that, there was a way to cheat. You would see like a dead body on the floor, but really, they weren't dead. It was like a glitch where you could like unplug a port and replug it back in at a certain time, and like it would look like a dead body on your floor in the game. But as the player that did the glitch, you're still running around like normal, just shooting people. They can't see you. Um, but that was still pretty rare. I mean, it happened, but they'd get kicked. But yeah, that game, there wasn't any really unfair advantages. It was really fucking fun, and that's how I do it for my multiplayer for that specific type of game. Um, for games like, if I had to make a game like Diablo or PoE, um, I think PoE's in a good spot. I think they're doing the right thing, and honestly, I like Diablo 4 too. For those, it's easy. I would just make a fucking clone of those games, and I would just have it be like I said, where you have some sort of engine that can procedurally generate a whole new map as big as the base game, and or at least like half, and just have that come out every 6 months. Or like there's lots of stuff you could do, like an underworld or an overworld, or a mirrored map. um a mirrored map that, like, I love that in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I think that is one of the best, if not the best, Castlevania games. And you can completely miss the whole second half of the game and not even realize it. You could literally get to the midpoint of the game and think it's the end, and the credits will fucking roll, and you're just like, cool, I beat the game. There's nothing left to do. I beat it, done. But really, you're only halfway through. And there's like two specific rings you can wear, and you wear them in a certain area, and it unlocks this portal to you're in. So the whole game you're like in Dracula's castle. Well, when you wear these two rings, you're at like the tip top tower of his castle, and when you wear those two rings, you end up teleporting to an inverted version of his castle that's like fucking way worse. It's like fucking hell up there. Like there's demons and shit everywhere. It's like a fucking nightmare version of his castle. And I think maybe, I'd have something like that in my PoE or Diablo type game. Like, cool, you get to the end game, rather than just have a little area where You're fighting these hordes, and there's, they're just coming at you in this fucking arena nonstop. Like, no, now you unlock the nightmare level, and there's just fucking hordes and unique enemy types everywhere, especially for like the very, very, very end game shit, where like you can just clear that content really easy because you have a fully optimized build that's totally meta. Like, yeah, at that point, it's like, why not? Even if you're fucking slaughtering everything easily, it's gonna be a lot more fun to have hordes all over the fucking map, not just in one selected area. I think the reason they don't do that is because it's probably pretty fucking taxing on the system if they don't have it in just like an arena. If it's just like this fucking horde, never-ending horde following you around the full map, I don't think consoles could maybe handle that. But there's got to be some way to do it. I'm sure. Maybe turn down the graphics a little bit, use an older engine, um, take off some of the bells and whistles for the console version. Oh, what else? I mean, I think I covered. I mean, I'm sure I can come up with more games, but it's pretty universal. Like you could have people that write great stories, but it also has to have some of those key things that don't piss your players off. We don't want to have to fucking grind all over again every 2 to 3 months. We don't want ads all over our fucking games, especially if we paid for them. We want expansions that are as big as a full map, or I'm sorry, a full like campaign. Um, we don't want celebrities in our fucking games. It kills the fucking immersion like a motherfucker. We want toggles for the HUDs. We want liquor and nicotine and all kinds of illegal drugs. Oh, we want curse words. Like, don't be afraid to curse. You know what? It's another big one. Like the gender shit. Mm, Instead of putting a gender option in my game, like, hey, you're fucking trans or straight or male, female, I would just leave a blank space. You fill it in yourself. I wouldn't even put in like the drop down menu selections, because then you're going to piss someone off. You either leave out trans and then you piss off the straight people, or you put in trans and whatever. You get what I'm saying. I'll just leave a blank spot. Write your gender in here if you really think it's necessary. And then, the game will just fucking drop it in there like it would your name in those sections. I think it's best to just fucking leave that shit out. And it's funny because now it's like that's what's like affecting the games industry. Like all these companies, you know what, where I'm at right now, it is really fucking hot. Like really hot in here because I've got a fucking game running. I've got this jacket on, and where I live, it's not fucking cold in the wintertime. So I'm gonna pop my top off, but don't worry, you won't see my man tits. So what the fuck was I just talking about? This is the problem with ADHD. I get brain farts all the time. Um, Damn. Give me a second to think about it because I forgot where I left off. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, like gender shit in games. Yeah, that's that's where the industry is right now. I think the problem is you have these really corporate AAA studios, and when companies like that get super big and super corporate, they also get HR departments that are very by the rules. And people that identify as anything other than straight, I wouldn't say so much gay and lesbian, but anything outside of that and straight, like they kind of get they're like they get their own special class, you know? So if I were working in a game studio and I'm a straight white male, even if everything's even in that office, there's no bias or favoritism on day one. I feel like if someone that identifies as trans or anything other than straight had a problem and took it to HR is going to side with them because it's going to be an issue. And right now, you have a lot of these people that schools are getting more and more and more liberal, and they're pushing like this these ideals onto these kids. And I think it was, I mean, it skipped me in high school, thank God. But like, and you know, we had gays and lesbians, and at the time, and you know, we had men that didn't call themselves trans, but you know, they were gay and they dressed like women. But the teachers weren't pushing that, or the teachers didn't even bring it up. Like, there was no need to like call it out. And shortly after I finished high school, I don't know how many years, but it wasn't that many because I have a cousin that was in high school at this, you know, maybe like 5 years later. That's when that started. And I think a lot of these kids that were outcasts saw that as something to identify with. When I was in high school, they would identify as like being gothic or punk rock or gay or lesbian. But I feel like now it's just like, no, that's not enough. Like, and I feel like the teachers in schools, not all the teachers, but like there's a good amount of them. They're like woke liberals. They kind of encourage it, and you know you're going to get special treatment for it. Like, if you're a kid that needs attention, that's going to get you attention. And once you are grown up and you're going to work at a game studio, that's what's going to get you attention. And HR is going to side with you on just about everything because they don't want a fucking clusterfuck or a lawsuit that they're, um, you know, not supporting anyone that's not straight, right? So I think what happens is you have a lot of these kids that grew up with that, and now they're adults working in game studios, and they're sprinkling in their agenda into the games, and people, I mean, the people have spoken. Those games are fucking flopping left and right. People don't like them. They're uh, they're for the modern audience, and that audience is not really that big. That's especially for gamers. Like, nah, we've been playing these games forever. We don't want that. Like, we don't want that. And if you're gonna put it in your game because you want it, like, you know, people don't want it, but you have to have it in your game. Okay, do it just like I said. Here's the fucking place for you to write in whatever you want. Don't put it in a drop down, because as soon as you put a drop down for fucking 50 different genders, you're going to piss someone off. And the majority of the people that are straight are going to be pissed off because they don't want that shit in their games. They don't want it. They don't want it pushed. So you're not pushing it if you don't have that option in there. You just have an option to put in whatever you want. So that's what I would do in that, for that type of thing. And as far as like those people working in like the gaming industry, like, I feel like, you know, AAA studios need to be, they need to be cautious, because I get if you're like trans or gay, and you want to put that stuff in a game to not only put like a little bit of yourself in there, but also to like kind of support people out there like you. Like I get that, but like the studios need to be cautious of that, because the majority of the people don't identify with that, and you don't want to piss those people off and lose all the money you just spent building your game. So make sure there's like options where it's not in your face. Like, oh, what was the game? Fucking Dragon Age. Like, it's old news now, but like that shit where they're like, oh shit, I I misgendered someone in the middle, and it came up like so unnatural in the conversation. It was just like fucking awkward. Like, no, no, it was just super fucking awkward the way they did that. Like, I get why they did it, but like the person that put that in there put it in there like the most fucking awkward way possible. If I was having that conversation with someone and someone in our group was like, "Oh, excuse me, oh, did you just misgendered that person in the middle of your story?" I would have been like, "Dude, shut the fuck up. Let me finish fucking telling the story, and if you want, like, maybe pull me aside later, but like you don't have to fucking call me out in front of everyone, and I'm not gonna fucking feel guilty about it. I'll work on not saying that shit to not offend that person, but no, they made it super fucking awkward. Like they wanted to fucking lecture you on it, and I feel like the person that put that in there was probably someone that's socially awkward and thinks that's the way conversations happen, because it's not. It's not. And if a conversation happened like that in the real world, it'd be fucking super awkward. So like, yeah, avoid that shit altogether, or don't make it so fucking awkward. Make it like believable. If it were me and I had to write that scene and somehow get that into the game, um, I would have had like the main character that that chick is like, I've never fucking played Dragon Age, so I don't know any of the characters' names. But like the chick's telling the story that ends up like misgendering someone in that story. Well, I would have had that person she misgendered in the room, and I would have had that person be like, "Hey, bitch, like I'm fucking identifying as this now," and I would have been like, "Oh fuck, my bad. All right, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I'm not used to it, but I will try." Not this fucking lecture. Like, be cool. Be fucking cool about it, dude. Don't be so fucking weird and awkward about it. Like, I feel like I said, I feel like these are the people that were fucking weird and awkward in high school. And that's fine. Everyone's fucking weird and awkward, but some people are more so, and they don't have friends and shit like that. And they probably played a lot of fucking video games growing up because they didn't have those kind of friends, and that's where they spent their time, alone at home playing games. And then they grew up and started working in these studios, and they're they're kind of putting a little bit of themselves in those games. But uh, yeah, I guess it's kind of natural for them to make it that fucking awkward because they don't know how they didn't get to experience that um, those conversations with real people to know how those conversations would go in the real world, and to not make it awkward. So yeah, studios, I'd be weary of that type of stuff. And devs, if you have the power to put that stuff in games and you feel the need to put that stuff in games, maybe discuss with someone that's cool, that is fucking really cool. Maybe someone that wouldn't even hang out with you, but is really cool and good looking and straight, and ask them how they would go about putting that in the game, because they'll tell you there's ways to do it. Yeah. I know that fucking there's, you know, the gaming community. There's a lot of toxic people in there, and they don't want to see that shit. And honestly, when it's awkward like that, I don't want to see that shit either. It's like it's fucking really cringe in the middle of my fucking game, and it kills the immersion. So yeah, I don't want to see it either. But there's a way to do it and make it not so fucking cringeworthy. So yeah, if you have to have it in your game because you have to get that out there to people, then talk to someone that's cool and ask them how you can make it not so fucking cringy. And then after that, like after you fucking get that part done and you're like, okay, cool, I talked to someone, I know how to make it not cringe at all. After that, just shut the fuck up about it. Don't tell people that you're putting that in your game. Because as soon as you tell people there's going to be any reference to it, even if it's going to be done well or cool, just don't bring it up. Because before people try out your game, they're going to hear about it. They're going to think the worst. They're going to fucking not want to play your game, and they're going to talk shit like fucking crazy. So you know what? Put your little bat signal in the game for your people, but just don't tell anyone about it. You know, maybe fucking hide it, like to where you have to be like a male and you have to interact with a male npc that maybe gives off those vibes, and if you interact with them enough times, then that type of thing pops up. But it's not something you would encounter as a straight person, because you wouldn't be over with this npc like digging deeper and asking these types of questions. You would just be like, cool, NPC has nothing to do with anything that I really need to do to progress the story, and I'm just gonna never talk to this person. Whereas, you know, maybe if you're uh, something other than straight, there might be some obvious signs that this person is something other than straight, and maybe you should keep talking to the NPC, and more dialogue options pop up as you keep talking to them, and then eventually it can get to the the stuff that you want to put in your game, or the stuff that signals to your people, or the stuff that makes your people out there comfortable, you know. um or maybe make it so that, you know, if you pick the right, like, remember I said there's no drop down for your gender, like it, but if you type in the right thing, then the game knows your gender, and now those options are available in the campaign. But if you're not this, then they're not available in the game. You know, you could do it that way too. Just don't make it cringy. Make it feel natural. Don't lecture people. Like that's a thing with, like, I think the the main issue is that people, they just they push too much, and it's kind of awkward, and just, just be cool about it, I guess. I had something else I was gonna say, but I fucking had another brain fart, so forgive me for that. But just, you know, keep it cool. And what other things would I want for a game? What would I put in a game? You know what? I haven't even touched PoE. I'm like dying to play this all fucking day. Wife and kids are asleep. I finally get some time to play this, and I decided I have to get my YouTube channel going. I've been trying to do this for years, and I like just, it's not that I'm not motivated. I have to work a full-time job. And then after I'm done with work, I got a wife and kids. And then after they go to sleep, I have game time. So there's not really time for me to enjoy myself while making these videos. And with my ADHD, I don't think I could have a good conversation with y'all while I'm actually playing a game. I think I'd be too distracted. Oh shit. And people that made PoE 2, if I disconnect my controller, you don't have to fucking close the whole game out and put me back to the start screen. Just like reconnect the game. You don't need to fucking flip out. That's a good tip for you guys there. But I know that's probably something you guys are working on right now. Let's see. I have a really well, I think it's a good idea for a mobile game, but I'm not going to tell anyone what it is because it's like my I feel like it's my meal ticket. I don't know if I'd ever be able to create it myself. But I don't think it's that hard to create. I think it'd be pretty easy to create, and I think it'd be fun and people would play it. The reason I think it's really easy to create is because it's super fucking simple. And when I mean it's simple to create, I mean it's something like Flappy Bird. It's not like exactly like Flappy Bird. It's like actually a completely different game, but I mean it's something simple like that to create where like you just need a few static images that do certain things when certain things happen. You know, like, it's not like a full-on fucking game, but it is. It's a game that's kind of like well, you play it against other players in 1v1. Maybe you could even do more than 1v1, but yeah, I'm not gonna tell you what it is or go further into details because that's my game that I'd like to create someday to help get. I would hope that it would be so fucking popular like Flappy Bird was when that shit came out that I'd be able to get enough money to where now I can start a studio to create the games I want. Like I mentioned with the Metal Gear Division type game. You know what else would be great? Um, a game like The Division but with zombies. Yeah. Game like Division but with zombies. And the problem with The Division is those developers um they abandon their game too often. And I know it's Ubisoft that's telling Massive like, "Hey, you're done with Division. We want you to go work on something else." And I think Massive is one of their best studios. And I can understand the corporate overlords saying, "Hey, we need you to start working on this other project because we need this to be great." But like Division could have been, it could have been your cash cow like twice, and you guys fucked it up. I don't think Massive fucked it up. I think corporate fucked it up. But the way corporate fucked it up was by pulling Massive away from those games. So Division 1 like was lacking content for the longest fucking time, but it was super fun. And then you got to the end game and that was fun, and then there was never really any expansions until way fucking later, like very end of the game's life. People had fucking mostly moved on and forgot about the game, and then they released like an expansion to the Dark Zone. And I can't remember if they did expand like the single player non PvP part of the map too, but just one expansion, and then after that they gave up again on the Division. And Massive and I forget the other guys that were working on Division 2, and then Division 2 came out and it had some like content with like raids and stuff like that, and then again eventually I think Massive got pulled to work on the fucking Avatar game, and they just fucking abandoned Division 2 and left like a skeleton crew for like the longest fucking time, and there was just not enough content. And then eventually the Skeleton Crew seems like they got okay at releasing content. And then it seems like now they're giving the game more attention and releasing more stuff. But like seriously, both times they like just left the fucking game hanging for a long time. And in both games, they like fucking nerfed everyone's build and like this huge fucking change up. Like we're releasing a 2.0 and like all the armor and gear you like grinded so long for, like just completely got fucking wiped out. Like like if you had a chest piece that had like some super sick roll on it with like 500 armor and it also has like maxed out shooting and shit like that. After this update, you come in and it's like it doesn't even fucking have armor anymore and it doesn't do anything for shooting. Like it just randomized every fucking stat that piece of gear had, and they're just like, hey, it's fucking fresh start for everyone. Go fucking restart your game, and that's how we're gonna have fun. That's the expansion. You get to start the game all fucking over again. That's another fucking thing now that I think about it. And a lot of games do that. Nerfing shit. And one thing I hear all the time in games is like there's always nerfs coming because there's a meta and the players are always like, don't nerf stuff, buff everything else. Don't nerf these things, buff everything else. And that makes sense to me, but I've heard it's easier for the developers to just nerf that one thing than have to buff everything else. But I don't think either one of those is the answer. I would like buff everything else to be the answer, but I could see where like the developers don't. But I feel like there should be something else. There's like another way we're not seeing that could fix that. But like every game has that fucking problem. Anytime there's something that's like a meta for a specific build, people take advantage, it gets abused, then it gets nerfed, and then people are pissed off. And then they go and find the next fucking meta thing, and the fucking cycle just repeats all over again. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to brainstorm with like some developers to find out or to figure out a way to nip that in the bud. I'm an ideas person and I'm really good at like coming up with solutions to problems like that. I haven't really thought too long and hard about that one. So I don't have any answers for you, but I'm pretty sure I could come up with a way to solve that issue of something getting too meta and then having to nerf it or having to buff everything else. Yeah. Um, yeah. So that's what I think gamers want. That's what I want. That's also what I think gamers don't want. And I'd like to be able to create my very simple mobile game that I think would be very popular. And I think it could probably be created in like a couple of days, maybe even one day. I don't think it's that fucking hard to create. I don't know though. I'm not a developer, but it's a pretty fucking simple idea. I think it would be really easy to do. And I'd like that game to blow up enough to where I now have like a nice chunky nest egg to open my own studio and then just become the idea person and then eventually start releasing these like dream games that I've always thought about and that I think everyone would enjoy. And I would just practice what I preach and not have a bunch of the shit that people don't like in my games, especially if I'm making them pay $60 for a base game. Oh, and one last thing. Don't fucking buy a game at $70 for the base game. That's like the new thing they're trying to make is like games now cost $70. No, you could suck my dick because You're already fucking shoving ads and all this other DLC shit up my ass. I'm not going to pay an additional $10 for the base game. So don't let them normalize that. All right. I'm going to go. If you like this, great. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear more. I've had 0 viewers this whole fucking time, but I had a good time talking to myself. And I'm going to go fucking play some Path of Exile 2. It's now fucking 1 in the morning, so I have about 1 hour to play some PoE, and then I got to go to bed because I got to be at work in the morning. But I had a good time, and I'd like to do this more, but I would need to see some interaction before, if I come in and I'm not getting any YouTube alerts or comments or subscribers, then yeah, I'm not gonna want to keep doing this. But I had fun doing it, and I think the topics was interesting, and been watching a lot of Asmon lately, and I've just started watching him like maybe a month ago. I know he's been around forever. And someone mentioned Twitch and stuff recently, and then someone mentioned Justin TV. I used to be on Justin TV back in the day. I think that was in like 2010 till like 2012 when that went away. If anyone knows what that is, if you don't know what that is, Justin TV was Twitch before Twitch was Twitch. It's all the creators of Twitch, or like a majority of them, or the guys that started Twitch. They originally owned Justin TV, and then eventually they ended that, started Twitch. And when they did that, I was super fucking pissed because I was pretty well established on Justin TV, but it was like at its end of life anyway. Um, and then when Twitch launched, I was like, cool, I'm going to get in on this train. And I was kind of pissy because I didn't want to fucking start all over. And then I didn't like what Twitch was at the time. There was a lot of stuff you couldn't do on Twitch that you could do on Justin TV. And one thing I used to love to do on Justin TV is like people would have streams on Justin TV where they were just streaming like every episode of The Office all fucking day on repeat. Like you didn't need Netflix or anything like that. You could just hop on there and watch The Office all day on repeat. And it was every season. Or you could like go in and watch movies. Like someone's stream would be like, "Hey, I'm showing fucking all the Equalizer movies right now," and that would be the title of the stream, and you'd just be like, "Oh, cool," and like it would like show you like this is the most popular stream right now, and it'd be like, "The Office, The Equalizer," and like I love that. And then when Twitch came, it was like, "Nah, you can't do that here." So I was like, "All right, well, I don't fucking like where this is going. It's getting way too fucking corporate, right?" All right, I gotta get out of here. You guys have a good night. Thanks for watching this. What's the thing they say? Like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell. I'm gonna really need your help. One thing about my channel, I promise I won't put those fucking annoying thumbnails where I act like something super fucking lame happened and they're like, none of that shit. All right. Have a good night. Bye.